Hey, what's up guys? Today I've got the Yongnuo YN600EX-RT flash that I want to review for you guys today. If you guys have watched my channel before, you guys know that I'm a big fan of Yongnuo products. I got started with their flash units when I first got into portrait work. I didn't really know if I was going to enjoy doing portraits, didn't know if I was actually going to be able to make it as a photographer. I was broke, and so I had to settle on Yongnuo products because they were cheap. And what I found was they were extremely durable. I own multiple different Yongnuo speedlights, different models. I own their flash triggers. And I've completely beat my flash units up since I've bought them, and they still work. They're reliable, they're dependable, and they're a fraction of the cost of the Canon product. So as a result, even though now my business has grown to the point that I could buy the Canon flashes if I wanted to, I found the Yongnuo ones work so well that it's kind of a question of what's the point of spending the extra money. So the latest flash that I got is the 600EX-RT. Now this comes in at about a quarter of the cost of the Canon version, and these flash units are almost identical. These flash units are so similar that my buddy who owns 4 Canon 600s, whenever I showed him this the other day, he thought that they had just made some very minor design features. He thought this was actually a Canon version. I think that like the Canon unit, it has some printing on some of the buttons, if I remember right. It's been a couple of weeks since I used it. But I mean, they look so much the same. The buttons are laid out the same. All of the features are almost identical. They feel almost the same. So in this video, I'm going to go over a lot of the specs with this flash unit because I don't really have any complaints about it. The couple of complaints that I do have about it are design issues, but those design issues don't only apply to the Yongnuo, they apply to the Canon because this is an exact clone of the Canon. And there are a few things that I personally don't like about the design of it, but in terms of functionality, it works, and it works well. So when you look at the flash unit, it's got all of the standard features. The flash head tilts and rotates. It does all of that kind of stuff that you would expect out of a flash unit. It's got the diffusion panel, and it's got the little white bounce card. All of the normal stuff that you would expect. A couple of the cool features about this, it has a USB port for doing firmware updates. That is kind of something that Yongnuo has to have because in case the Canon camera bodies make any kind of feature changes or anything like that, the Yongnuos may need to be updated to be able to support added features down the road. It also has a PC sync port, and it's got the spot to take an external battery pack, which is cool for people who want to be able to have faster recycling times and be able to shoot all day using an external battery pack. So in terms of features that this thing has, it has the ability for ETTL and ETTL2. It can also high-speed sync. One of the features that this flash unit has that the Canon doesn't, unless I'm mistaken, and if I am wrong, somebody please correct me in the comments below, but the Canon 600 does not give you the ability to second curtain sync through the flash unit. The only way to second curtain sync using the Canon 600 flash is to use a pocket wizard that would give you that feature. It's something that's not built into the Canon units, the best I could tell. When I used the Canons, I couldn't figure out how to activate it. My buddy couldn't figure out how to activate it, and I did a web search, and there's people who say it's just not possible. So as far as I know, that is actually a feature that this flash unit has that the Canon does not. Now, one thing that the Canon flash unit does have that this doesn't is the Canon does have at least some weather sealing, especially around here around the battery compartment. There isn't any weather sealing. For me personally, it's not a big deal because I don't plan on going out and shooting flash out in the rain anyways, but it is something that the Canon has. But the way that I look at it is, given that I can buy 4 of these, if I do happen to get it wet and destroy one, it's not a big deal. I'll go buy another one and still be money ahead. So I've used the TTL function in this, and it seems to work just fine. I haven't had any problems. I've used it in a couple of different situations, photographing high school football and just playing around with it, doing some portrait stuff. I found it to work and work reliably just like any other TTL system would. This flash unit also has a focus assist beam on it, just like the Canon 600 does. Now, I didn't try the focus assist beam feature on the Canon when I had it because I was photographing football, and when you're in AI servo mode, the focus assist beam won't fire. It'll only fire when you're in the one shot or single shot, I think is what it's called, mode, that the focus assist beam will kick in. Now, I have read other people online who said that the Yongnuo focus assist beam is actually brighter and more effective than the Canon. I can tell you that I did use the focus assist beam on here, and it did allow my camera to focus incredibly fast. On my other Yongnuo flashes that do have a focus assist beam, in certain situations the camera lens will hunt a little bit before it is able to lock in focus, especially in really low light situations. But with this, I was amazed because every single time it was instantaneous almost that the lens was able to focus with this focus assist beam. In terms of flash power output, I have read other people online saying that this puts out a lot less power than the Canon. I don't know that that's true. I didn't do a side-by-side comparison of the flash output of these units, but I can tell you I've used the Canon 600s to photograph high school football. I've used this to photograph high school football. And I really didn't notice a huge difference in terms of flash power. If you look at the specs on both of them, they've got a guide number of 60 at ISO 100, zoomed into 200 millimeters. Now, the guide numbers, you can't always rely on what the manufacturers put out, but I can tell you from using this, I don't have any complaints about the flash output. The recycle time on this was just fine using standard AA rechargeable batteries. It took about 3 seconds for the flash to recycle and allow me to fire off a full power flash. One other design thing that I really like about this flash unit is, and it's the same thing with the Canon, is instead of having a knob here that you spin to tighten this into the hot shoe or whatever you're going to put it on, it actually has a little lever that you just close and lock, which I really prefer having this locking mechanism on here. One of the other interesting things about this is one of the few flash units along with the Canon that actually zooms up to 200 millimeters. It goes all the way from 20 millimeters to 200 millimeters. And for me, somebody who shoots a lot of sports with telephoto lenses, having the ability to zoom all the way to 200 millimeters is a really cool feature and very useful. One of the big selling points of the 600RT series is that they have built-in radio transmitters that allow you to control other flash units in different groups or however you want using a flash unit. So for example, I can have this on my camera and I can control several other flashes if I want to using this, and I don't need something like this as a receiver or a transmitter. It's all built right into the flash unit itself. So over time, I do plan on purchasing several other 600 flash units so that I can get rid of the radio triggers that I have. So I tested out the functionality of using this along with the Canon, and I found that once I was able to actually figure out how to link the two things up, because it is kind of a new system to me, it did take me a minute to figure out how to sync the two flashes together. But once I did, I found that they were able to work between the Canon and the Yongnuo brand flawlessly. The flashes triggered every time without a problem. So a couple of design features that I don't like about this, and again, this is something that Canon designed and Yongnuo basically just copied. But what I don't like about this is I don't care much for this little spinny wheel that's on here. My other flash units, they have buttons off to the side, and I really prefer the buttons as opposed to the spinny wheel, because when you want to do things like make adjustments to your flash power, for me it's a little bit difficult to use this wheel. If you ever watch me work on a portrait shoot, I'm really lazy. I'll have my light stand all the way up and I'll end up just tilting it over and reaching up and making adjustments, and so I just prefer the buttons as opposed to the wheel. The other thing that I don't like about the 600 series is I don't like the fact that it displays the flash power very small. On my other flash units, it displays the flash power in, I don't know, about probably 1/4 inch tall numbers, which makes it easy for me to see when the flash is up on a light stand and I'm just tilting it over above my head. And on the Canon and the Yongnuo, it's a small line. It's not a graph, but it's like a little line, and it's a little bit difficult to see. I don't have horrible eyesight, but I prefer just having the larger numbers. But that's a preference issue. Other people may not care about that, but for me it's just something that I wish that it was designed differently. So the only thing I really can't talk about is how long this flash itself is gonna last, because I've only had this for about a week. But I can tell you, based on my experience with Yongnuo radio triggers and flash units, even though they're inexpensive, they're not cheaply built. The Canon feels about the same weight as this. I know other people have said that the plastic on the Canons is a better plastic. I'm not a plastic expert, so I can't tell you. But I can tell you my other flash units, I'm really hard on my gear. They've fallen off of light stands, they've been knocked over, my kids have sat on them, they've rolled around on my floorboard, and they still work. I mean, if you look at my flash units, they don't look very good, but they still work. And I'm making the assumption that this 600 is going to be the same, that it's going to be durable and it's going to last. But in terms of functionality out of the box, it works just like the Canon 600s for a fraction of the price. So I highly recommend this for anybody who's looking to get into flash photography or upgrade their system to something where they don't need radio triggers. It's got every feature that you could want in a speed light, and it works. So I hope that helps you guys out. If you guys have any questions about this speed light or any other Yongnuo products, leave me a comment below and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.